Hi there, my name is Aarup. I'm a partner in Inspari, a business intelligence consulting company working with BI, business analytics, and big data. Today I'm here to talk about big data and where to find it. Big data is definitely one of the most hyped things within the IT industry right now. Not only within the IT industry, but also at management level right now. In 2011 and in 2012, the big data really lifted off. We see that in the searches on Google, which has overtaken the business intelligence searches. And this has also been emphasized by big data actually making it to the cover of both the Harvard Business Review and the MIT Sloan in October 2012. So today, let me just talk to you about three things that's very important. First of all, what is big data? Second of all, why should we care about big data? And third of all, of course, how do you get started with big data? So let's look at what big data really is. There's a lot of confusion about what big data is, but let me try to make some clarity about that. Big data is market signals. It's a way for us to gain knowledge about a lot of signals that's going on with our customers. It could be, for instance, video content. So video content uploaded on YouTube, everywhere on the internet. There's a lot of information within the videos, but in videos it's pretty hard to get out the different data that's within them. But there's a lot of comments and there's a lot of knowledge posted by our users on the internet. Big data is one of the most obvious thing about big data is that it's on the social medias. It seems like for now that every now and then, actually every day, a new social media is evolving. But social media is still led by Facebook, by LinkedIn, and by Twitter. And on these three different medias, we find a lot of information that our users can give us. This could be, for instance, that the users are commenting on different topics that we are posting. They give us likes, and they tell what they think and what they feel about the different topics that are out there. So definitely social media is one of the most important things. But actually big data is also something like email. So a lot of us, of course, use email every day. And every now and then we reply and we send emails back and forth. But email is, at the moment, mostly used for just corresponding with each other. Only a few companies actually looking into what's the data within the email that we're sending back and forth. Think about how you might be able to actually improve your customer service if you do analysis on the different topics that are going back and forth within your emailing. Big data is also click streams. So click streams on your websites. That could be how the users actually navigating through the different websites that we have. A lot of companies are investing heavily within the within the e-commerce platform. And actually being able to analyze this and how the click streams are going is very valuable for a lot of companies. Big data is also data that's not primarily put in there by the users, but also data that's actually coming through different sensors. So for instance, our mobile phones that we have, they have a lot of different sensors, and they're posting a lot of data onto different areas. It could also be wind turbines. When a wind turbine is going around, it samples a lot of data, and that data is very valuable for a lot of companies that are developing wind turbines. So as we can see, the big data is a lot of different things, and it's not just the traditional data that we look around. There are some commonalities when it comes to big data. We typically define those as the 3 V's. The first one is the obvious one, that's the volume. And of course, when it comes to big data, well, it is big. So we are going from only a couple of megabytes of data into petabytes of different data that we're looking into right now. This, of course, gives us a lot of challenges when it comes to our existing IT platform. But actually, right now, a lot of technology is evolving that gives us the possibility to use this data and host a lot of big data and at a very low cost. Big data is also variety. So as you saw on the previous slide that I had, there are a lot of different types of data, and that's what we see over here as well. Traditionally, we are going from analysis and tables and stuff and data that we can handle into more different and unstructured data. That's when the virality comes into play. The third common thing about the big data is the velocity. So the speed that we're actually generating data right now. When it comes to big data is moving from the traditional batch and up to what we could call nearby real-time or actually real-time. So think about how valuable it could be for your organization to know exactly at this point in time what the customers are talking about and how they're responding to your different market input. So the volume, virality, and velocity, that's the common thing about the big data. So now that we know about big data and what it is, let's look into why we should care. Well, first of all, big data gives you a perfect opportunity to get to know your customers. So you can gain an extreme insight in how your customers are reacting and what they're thinking about right now. It also gives you the possibility to actually be relevant for your customers, so that when you put out messages into the market, you can make relevant messages for them to interpret immediately. And third of all, and what I think is the most important, is that if we look at the growth and the welfare that's been going on for the last 20 years, we know for a fact that this growth and this welfare comes through technology and data, and that's put together by people who are actually able to use these two different things. So we know that this can be an extreme driver for growth within the different companies. So that's why you should care. That's why you should bring big data to management level. Okay, so we know what big data is. We know why we should care about it. Then how do we actually do this? Well, first of all, you should start by taking a look around. As I said in my first slide, you can see that big data is everywhere. It's all around us. And that's how you should start it. You should start by looking at where is my customers generating data at the moment. So how are they navigating? Is it online? Is it offline? Is it in the shops? And also you should look at your existing data and see if you can use that maybe in another way. A lot of companies have very highly technical IT platforms that are generating a lot of data, and maybe for purposes that were not analysis for a start. For instance, airports that have Wi-Fi networks all around them. Well, the obvious one is that, of course, we're using this to actually make Wi-Fi network for our customers. But actually, some airports are using this data to track how the customers or the travelers are traveling through the airport. That's another way of using data, and that's when it comes to be big data. And that's the third part of it. So as we can see, are we actually generating data that we are not using right now for analysis purpose? That's the thing that we see with many companies. All right. So first, we have started looking at the different data that's out there, and we've taken a look around. The second thing to do is start gathering the data that's out there. This requires a collaboration between the IT department and the company. A lot of IT department is very skilled when it comes to actually maintaining the infrastructure that we have and securing stability. But we need the business input actually to make big data work. And we need that so that we as a company can gain a lot of knowledge about our different customers. Second of all is that you need to own your own data. A lot of data when it comes to big data is out in the cloud. Maybe it's on Google Analytics, maybe it's on Twitter, maybe it's somewhere else that maybe it's not your own actually. You need to gather these data and you need to keep them yourself. That's when it becomes, if this data is very valuable to you, you need to own these data. And then third of all, you need to start now. The reason for this is that a lot of this data actually disappears. If we look at Twitter data, for instance, as soon as the conversation or the tweets about a specific topic is out there, actually this topic and this data disappears. What this means for us is that if we don't collect it, well, it's gone. And maybe what's going on right now, a conversation that's going on in the market right now, could be relevant for us. And therefore, we need to start tracking this data immediately and right away. So we've taken a look around, and we started gathering the data. The third thing we need to do Well, let's visualize and analyze. So don't just grab your data, put it into a database or in the cloud or whatever. You need to get this data out and not just tell anybody about it, but actually show your data. For this, we need to find the patterns that's within our data. This can be done in many different ways, but we need tools that actually leverage us to do these things. These type of tools are called data discovery tools. It's tools that are used by the business to make them able to make analysis like this one, where we actually show extreme amount of data. So we have a lot of patterns down here that are showing these different data and showing the trends at the top. We need to have tools where the business themselves is able to do these types of analysis and not only be relying on the IT department. It could also be using geographic ways of displaying our data. So this, as we see here, is Denmark, and what we can use here is sort of like a heat map on a map. But also not only using the data and visualizing it in a very detailed level, but it could also be more dashboard-like, where we see the data very aggregated instead. So as you can see, we need to have skills and we need to have people within our organization that are actually able to use and work visual with data so that they become easy for people to understand when we need to tell the story that's about it. So to wrap it up, well, it's pretty obvious that big data is important and it's out there. It's a question about you as an organization actually opening your eyes and seeing what data is out there that's relevant for you. Second of all, if you do this, you will gain the competitive advantage that's out there. If you are first mover on this one, I'm sure that a lot of companies that are working with this right now is actually gaining a competitive advantage. Some companies are actually only working with big data and doing this as their primary business. And third of all, well, follow my 3 steps. So you need to identify, collect, and visualize your different data, and then you should be more or less up and running. So that's pretty much it for me now. I hope this has been valuable for you, and thank you.